I'm first. I'll start.
There you go.
Just after, just after a spring session, after just the off season, the summer, to kind of take it all in perspective. I guess just what all did you learn about your defense, and what all have maybe come to kind of think about them, and what you need to do to put them in the best positions just after that spring practice and that time to consider it and look at it.
I tell you, we found out that we have a bunch of guys that like to play football, a bunch of guys that are hungry, great leadership, a veteran group that's their thirst to get better is awesome. And you always want to see a group that, they're proud of what they did last year, but they want more. And when you have a group that's not really sitting on the heels of their success, but are really wanting to get out there to get better every single day and push each other and compete, that's what you want as a group. And so I was happy to see that throughout spring, and it kept going. And now it's carried over into the summer workouts where guys are being leaders and guys are pushing each other and calling guys out in a good way. So I like that about that group. And I think it's exactly the mindset you need as you go into fall camp, which these guys didn't have the opportunity to do last year. And so this is their first camp in almost 2 years. So you're going to need that mindset going into this part of the season right now to get them going and prepared for game one. So I'm excited. I think they have the mentality. I think they have the attitude, the competitive character to keep going. And I'm excited to get going tomorrow.
Yeah, Iowa's 4 weeks away, and they're traditionally a team that's going to come at you, run the football. How important is it going to be to kind of set that physical tone, mindset, from the jump here these next 4 weeks?
Yeah, our offense is going to come out and try to hit us in the mouth day one and run the ball as soon as we put on pads. So for us, stopping the run is so key to what you want to do defensively. We can not be a great defense if we're going to allow a team just to run up and down the field on us. So whoever the opponent is right now, it's about us being fundamentally sound, being able to execute without mistakes, and be able to go compete against our offense day in and day out. And so that's going to be really the core of who we are. Can we hit? Can we tackle? Can we be physical? If we can't do that, we don't have a chance. And I see a group that can. Coming out of the spring, this is a group that likes to hit. I have to say whoa way more than giddy up in practice, in which I like as a coordinator and as a position coach. So I am excited. That is an aspect of our defense that we are committed to, of trying to establish throughout fall camp.
Matt and Zach?
Hey, Coach. Coach Allen mentioned, how important the linebacker position is in any defense, especially this one.
Right.
You came into a group that's got a lot of experience, a lot of talent. I guess how easy did that make your transition, and just how confident does that make you going into the season? Obviously, they got to back it up for what they did last year, but Micah and Cam Jones and James,
Yep.
and Aaron Casey and all those guys, Thomas Allen coming back. I guess just how they ease your transition and how much you look forward to watching them this year.
I think their characters spoke volumes when I got here. They embraced me as a new position coach, and the things that I asked them to do that may have been different than they did last year, it was never, well, Coach, we used to do it this way. They embraced change. They embraced wanting to learn a new style of defense and really a new way of doing technique. So having a veteran group in my room that also happen to be really great players and really great people, then from the middle of our defense, it just spreads through all the other levels. And they carried that into the summer. Micah and C4 and Ace and James, they were leaders throughout summer workouts. So for us, the middle of our defense is our core, right? And from there, we can control the front level and the back level. And I have a group of guys that mentally, competitively, they have the tools to help our defense grow from inside out. They're the quarterbacks of our defense. Okay, our Mike Backer and our Stinger, they're going to do every check, set every front, make every coverage adjustment. They're going to be the quarterbacks of the defense, and I have a great group of experience and leadership to do that for us.
Zach and Jim?
I guess there's a number of guys on this defense that have been fairly versatile just in their production. A guy like Tywan Mullen, or I know he didn't play last season, but a guy like Marcelino Ball.
Yep.
Just where do you envision maybe fitting some guys in that have been on film, have been able to impact kind of in multiple areas of the defense, whether it's pass rush, pass defense, whatever it might be?
We as coaches have to do a great job of putting our playmakers in position to make plays. We're bad coaches if good players are standing next to me on the sideline when they can be helping us win football games. So depth is awesome. And if we have guys that can affect the game in different ways, we're going to have to find ways for them to do that. And if a guy can play multiple positions, he'll play multiple positions based on the down distance and situation. So we're going to be versatile enough where we can get guys on the field that show that they're ready to help us and have proven they can help us. And if they can handle multiple spots, they'll play multiple spots. We don't want anybody in our defense to necessarily be one-dimensional. We want to cross-train and train guys, so we always have our best 11 on the field, no matter what the situation is in the game. So guys like Taiwan, guys like Lino, guys that can do multiple things, we want to give them, an opportunity to do that based on the package and based on the situation.
Coach, Tom mentioned that normally when a new coordinator comes in, they're bringing their own system. This is a little different where you're adapting to the system that's already here in place and has been running. How's that been for you and adjusting to the personnel that's in place?
It's been good. When the basis of your defense is still, hey, we have 5 DBs on the field, we got 3 down linemen and an outside backer and 2 backers. That's the family of football I'm used to. So from that standpoint, it was not a bad transition at all. And like in any football, it's just language, right? I have to be able to adapt to the language these kids understood because I can learn it instead of having 60 guys in the room learning. So for me, it was more about language. I may call it Daffy Duck and they may call it quack. Whatever it is, I just had to adapt to that language. And so once that took place, it was a fairly easy transition because at the end of the day, a lot of the calls that I may have ran at another place, we ran them here. We just called them something different. And that was the biggest adjustment for me. But again, when you have older backers in the room that are set in the front, that verbiage really carries over really in our room, and it made my transition a lot easier.
Coach, you have been in a lot of high-profile programs in the past as well, and now that you are here, do you see Indiana in its present day as being comparable to where you've been before, too?
I think the commitment to win, the drive for excellence, and the commitment and work that these guys put in are at the highest level in college football. Because when it comes to work, it doesn't matter what your buildings look like or your stadium. The work that these kids put in are at the same level of all the places I've been before, okay? And so for me, I think when you have that level of work inside the building, the product on the field shines through as well. And I think that's what you're seeing here. So when I come here, I don't come here and say, man, I ain't got enough bullets in my gun right now. I don't have enough tools in my toolbox to go out there and win a football game. I don't see that if I walk on that field, So if I didn't know the history that people talk about of Indiana football, this program is ready to win. This program has players that are bought in and work their tails off to go win football games. And now we got to go do it. We got to go execute. We can't bust. We got to do all the things you have to do to win games. But the environment here is set to go win football games, and that's what we're going to go do.
Hey, Coach, you brought in a couple SEC guys to your defensive line. Did you play a big part of that? And was pass rush the main motivation there?
For me, it's recruiting. And if there's a defensive player, no matter what his position is, I'm going to be heavily involved in recruiting. And some of those guys, like I said, I knew because either I recruited them at my time or evaluated them or played against them in some cases. And so for me, I think you look at your defense and you say, okay, what are our immediate needs for now and long term? And for now, in the short term, we needed some defensive linemen. We needed some edge guys, and that's what we went out and got. We got more depth because this is a league, with the teams you have to play, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, they're going to try to bust you in your nose. And so we needed some depth on the D-line. I like having 290, 305-pound guys. I like having 6'5" guys. You get the length, you get the size, and we were able to bolster those front four, including our outside backer bull position. So for me, that was critical coming out of spring, saying these are our need areas. And then some of those guys are younger. So now you have some depth. So when some older guys graduate or move on to the next level, you have a guy that's older but has more years. He has experience in the package. You're not counting on necessarily an 18-year-old to come in and replace everybody. So we sort of did it strategically. But, yes, it was coming in, playing against some of these guys, knowing what they can do, saying, hey, they can come help us. And sometimes it was a scheme they came from that would be comparable to ours.
Carlton, you mentioned the bull position. Just out of curiosity, I'm not sure if you said this before in the spring or we
Yes,
asked
sir.
about it, but was that something they were already considering when you came in, or was that something you fought for, the idea of making us, basically the end to stand up outside linebacker?
That's what I'm used to. The last couple places I've been, we played with 3 down linemen and an outside linebacker. And that position is so versatile. It can give you so much as a coordinator, flexibility in play call between coverage and rush, front and stunt. And so for me, They had migrated to that, I think, at the beginning of their season. They migrated to that position. And when I came here, I was all about it because that's, if you ask me, that's what I would base out of. So it sort of worked itself out. And then all we did was continue to develop that position by a dedicated position coach. Focus on that guy, get his technique right, get his fundamentals right, because that position can be a difference-maker position in this scheme.
They were already heading that way.
Yeah, they started last year. They went from a four-man front, true four-man front, and they created the bull position, and it had a limited role. We're just going to enhance it.
Charlton, last year Indiana's defense, I'm sure you looked at it on film, was so aggressive with so many of their blitzes and the different people that were blitzing and those types of things. But at the same time, Indiana gave up several big plays during the season, which was, I know that's an emphasis that Tom's talked about, getting that stopped. How do you find the balance there to still be aggressive and yet at the same time stop the big play?
So my whole thing is aggressively fundamental, okay? We're going to be aggressive, but we're going to be fundamentally sound in everything we do. If you draw a picture and you ask me who's got that gap, I'm going to tell you. If you draw a picture and say, when you do this, who's covering that receiver, I'm going to be able to tell you. And if I can't, that's what we're not going to do. So we're going to be fundamentally aggressive, and we're going to take our shots, but everything we do is going to be sound. We're going to be able to say these gaps are covered, these guys are covered, because the one thing you said is what is paramount in our defense is explosive plays. That's one of the greatest predictors of an offensive success is explosive plays. And every single day in practice, our players know we don't give up explosive. We chart it every single day. We got to be 1 of 12 in everything we do. We want to give up one explosive play for every 12 plays of offense. That'll help us lead the nation. I think 1 of 14 led the nation last year on defense of giving up an explosive play, 1 of every 14 plays. So for us in practice, it's 1 of every 12. That'll put us top 5 in the country. It's charted every day, and if we don't make it, there's consequences. So we understand the value of not giving up explosive plays. Make an offense go 7, 8, 9, 11, and like anybody else, they'll mess it up just like we can. But if you give up 50, right, I'd rather give up 51-yard runs than 51-yard pass. So, but you can't play soft. You can't be bend but don't break. You got to take your shots. You got to be aggressive, but you got to be sound. But if you ask anybody on our defense, it's don't give up explosive plays. So that's something we've been focused on since the beginning of spring. We'll continue to focus on that against our offense because they got dynamic players. They got a great quarterback, so it's going to be a great challenge for us all through fall camp. But it's what you said. We have to be fundamentally aggressive and get after people, but we cannot sacrifice 2 sacks for 1 60-yard bomb. We can't do that. We got to be consistent.
I guess I imagine there's specific schematic stuff you don't want to talk to us about, but I mean,
really?
In what ways? I mean, how does that bull position make the defense more versatile? What does it open up, I guess, in terms of just giving you options play to play?
Right, so I'll give you some secrets here. Not really. So the bull position is this. He can rush like a D lineman, okay? He can drop like a backer. He can blitz like a backer. He can stand up on 2. He can go down on 3. He can line up outside of Y. He can line up inside of Y. He can line up apex on a receiver and blitz. He can line up apex on a receiver and cover. He can just do a lot of things, and that's NFL defense that's part of an NFL scheme. It's part of other defensive schemes. It just gives us flexibility with that guy. If he can do it, there's a lot of things you can do. So an offense has to account for that guy. They see a down defensive end in the 3-point stance, they know what he's doing. They see a guy in a 2-point stance that's 6'4", he can do everything. So for us, it gives us a look, it gives us versatility, and it gives us options at that position. And I thought last year here, they did a really good job at that position of pressuring with him, dropping him in coverage, folding him back over the middle. So there was a lot of good things they did, and places I've been, we've really maximized that position, and we continue to add to what that guy can do.